The Big Six of Ghana, the men who defied an empire. In every nation's history, there comes a moment when ordinary men rise to face extraordinary challenges. For Ghana, that moment came in 1948. And at the center of it all were 6 men, 6 leaders who dared to challenge the might of the British Empire. They would become known as the Big Six. Their names are forever etched in Ghana's history: Kwame Nkrumah, Ebenezer Adeoye, Edward Akufo-Addo, Joseph Boakai Dankwa, Emmanuel Obetsebi-Lamptey, and William Ofori-Atta. They were not warriors with weapons nor kings with armies. They were thinkers, lawyers, teachers, organizers, men with powerful ideas and an unshakable belief that the Gold Coast, as Ghana was called then, deserved to be free. Life under British colonial rule was harsh. The economy was controlled by foreigners, opportunities for education and political participation were scarce, and Ghanaians were treated as second-class citizens in their own homeland. The discontent simmered quietly for years, until the flames of resistance were lit in 1948. That year, a group of ex-servicemen, African soldiers who had fought for the British in World War II, marched peacefully in Accra to demand the pensions and benefits they had been promised. They were men who had risked their lives in far-off lands, but instead of honor, they returned home to poverty and neglect. As they marched, unarmed and determined, police officers confronted them. Then, in a single moment that changed everything, shots rang out. 3 unarmed veterans were killed. The city erupted. Anger spilled into the streets of Accra as ordinary people, shopkeepers, laborers, students, rose up in protest. They looted European shops, burned vehicles, and clashed with colonial authorities. For the first time, the ground beneath British rule began to shake. But the colonial government needed scapegoats. And so, the finger of blame turned toward the United Gold Coast Convention, the UGCC, the political party calling for self-government. Its leaders, 6 men who dared to demand freedom, were accused of instigating the violence. One by one, the Big Six were arrested. Imagine the scene: colonial police knocking on doors in the dead of night, dragging leaders from their homes, locking them away without trial. Their crime? Daring to demand independence. But instead of silencing the movement, the arrests electrified the nation. To the people of the Gold Coast, these 6 men became more than politicians. They became symbols of resistance. In villages and towns across the land, their names were whispered with pride. The colonial government had tried to break the spirit of the people. Instead, they had ignited it. Yet, as history often shows, unity is difficult to maintain. Within the struggle for independence, a new voice was rising: Kwame Nkrumah. Charismatic, fiery, and impatient for change, Nkrumah believed independence must come now. While the UGCC leaders wanted a slower, constitutional path, Nkrumah broke away and formed his own party, the Convention People's Party, the CPP. With his electrifying slogan, "Self-government now," he won the hearts of the masses. This split would define the future of Ghana. The Big Six, once united, found themselves divided. Some, like J.B. Dankwa and William Ofori-Atta, favored gradual reform and careful negotiation with the British. But Nkrumah's vision was bolder, and his connection with ordinary Ghanaians unstoppable. His rallies filled the streets, his speeches stirred hope, and his arrest only made him more popular. The struggle continued through protests, imprisonment, and political battles. And finally, in 1957, the dream became reality. Just 9 years after the tragic shootings of 1948, the Gold Coast cast off the chains of colonial rule and was reborn as Ghana, the first nation in sub-Saharan Africa to achieve independence. On that historic night of March 6, Kwame Nkrumah stood before a jubilant crowd and declared, "At long last, the battle has ended. Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever." But we must remember, this victory did not begin on the steps of Independence Square. It began with 6 men who were willing to sacrifice their freedom so their people could one day live free. Today, their faces are immortalized on Ghana's Sadi notes. Their names are taught in every school. Streets, statues, and landmarks honor them. But their true legacy lives not in stone or paper. It lives in the spirit of every Ghanaian who dares to dream of justice, unity, and freedom. The Big Six were not perfect men. They argued, they disagreed, and they walked different paths. Yet together they sparked a revolution that changed the course of history. And so, the story of Ghana's independence is not just the story of one man or one party, it is the story of 6 ordinary men who defied an empire. 6 men who turned their nation's pain into power. 6 men whose courage gave birth to a free Ghana. This is their story. This is Ghana's story. And it continues, with you.